Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, February 11th. Now, I believe February 13th is the last day where you can get these dust plus extra gold challenges, so we probably want to do everything we can today and not even leave one challenge left. Now, drawing 15 cards is easier to do than taking 15 turns, because there are cards that make you draw more cards. There are no cards or no way to increase the number of turns you take, except for maybe a couple that let you take 2 turns in a row. So we'll re-roll that, play 5 minions that cost 1. That's almost certainly going to put us into a Murloc deck of some sort. Wednesday we'll have the Tavern Brawl back, so meanwhile we're at rank 18. Let's just play some Zoo Warlock. I think we're good. We have a decent amount of news today, certainly, also. On top of which the I guess I could talk about I'm playing Overlord 2, and I played the first 30 minutes of it, then took a day off, and then came back and played earlier today, this morning, a couple more, like an hour more of it. So no real reason why I took that break. I'm just getting more and more distracted, quite frankly, these days. Part of it certainly has to do with taxes in the United States. If I can avoid a long tax rant here, the tax system as it has been set up this year is incredibly different. I have not seen it in any way. Like I haven't seen it be anywhere like this before. It feels like it is very intentionally been done to make things more complicated, waste more paper, waste more ink, and on top of it being moved around and complicated, it has been the rules and regulations you can follow there have been changed in a way to really screw any middle-class citizens, as if there actually is a middle class in the United States. There isn't. Everybody is either upper lower class, or you are the 1%, or you're below upper lower class, and too, I suppose that is true. There's certainly people that are not making any money. So I spent a day certainly looking at all of that stuff, and that's just a nightmare. The worst thing is, for every dependent you have, so every spouse or a child that you would claim as a dependent, in every previous year I've ever seen, you could write off $4,050 worth of taxes owed. This is on top of the standard deduction. Now the standard deduction is higher this year. It's quite a bit higher, but it would not certainly account for people who have more than one child. The average, it used to be, was like 2.25, 2.5 children in the United States. People with 3, 4, 5 children, people with a lot of children under their care are going to be affected even more, or dependents in particular, like outside of children. And yeah, on average, the news, I hate to quote CNN, but they said that the IRS is reporting that already, as early filers have gone into it, and I don't know why you'd want to early file if you're, unless you're just, you need that refund money. That the IRS is reporting, on average, it's an 8% lower refund for people. Now, inherently, you shouldn't get any kind of refund because you should not be withholding any money more than what you actually owe. Even if you ended up owing a few dollars, like even like $100 or $200 when you filed taxes, is better because that amount of money just sitting in a savings account will earn your interest and such. However, some pundit was saying, well, the reason why taxes are higher is because people were getting less withheld, and so every paycheck every 2 weeks they were getting about $40 more. That's not the real reason. That was, they did not go any further in that story. And then, and I don't want to get into a huge rant about how crappy CNN has possibly always been, potentially, but yeah, they certainly go for sensationalist or news reporting over taking that story and giving it a good 10 minutes to go over the entirety of it. Like, if you were filling out last year a 1040 Easy form, which was 1 sheet long, you now have to fill out a 1040, which is 2 half full sheets. If you were filling out a regular 1040 sheet and you were using every subsection, you're now using 7 sheets of paper, each of which are at most half full, and in most cases barely 3 or 4 sentences. There could be some variety depending on which sections you actually do use. It could be anywhere. If you are filing 1040s with a standard deduction, it could be as low as 2 half full sheets or as high as 7 sheets. If you're filling out itemized deductions, that is just 1 sheet, but the things you can itemize and remove as a claim have been significantly changed, so they're not as good. That was a wasteful thing to do. And yeah, if you're trying for credits in particular have been slowly trickling out as options, but a very notable one was, this was the last year in which you could buy solar panels and put them on your roof and get some kind of tax rebate from this. I imagine this is also potentially, I'm not certain, the last year that you could buy an electric vehicle and get some kind of credit for that. There are a couple of credits that may still be good ideas out there, such as putting money into a medical savings account, health savings account. Putting things into a retirement account. Still, yeah, I would have lost either way. I might have been able to actually pull that off if I'd paid more attention. Yeah, you can get some pretty good credits if you make a low enough amount of money and put things into a retirement and live very, very cheaply. Or at least you could. Next year maybe even worse. I mean, it's so different. I wouldn't be surprised if A, the US government shut down, and B, a significantly larger percentage of people just did not file taxes or blatantly lied on taxes, which is almost impossible to even do if you're just a normal lower class, middle class citizen. The only thing that might help you is that you should probably run two versions of the 1040. One if you're married, and one if you're filing separately. If you're married, this would only help people that are married, though, because then the numbers might be manipulated to save you a couple $100 if you had you and your spouse file separately. You take one child if you have multiple childs, or one dependent, and the other takes the other dependent, or whatever remaining amounts. Probably wouldn't change too much in any factor, but that is certainly something that you really never had to do in the past. If you were married, you would just file married and be done with it. But that's because you're not getting those exemptions for $4,050 per dependent. That's a big difference. I suppose it is also worth pointing out that I took in an accounting class that I quite enjoyed in school, and so I actually rather enjoy doing taxes in theory. Like, it's fun. It feels like something, if people will listen to you, which inherently that is my problem and everyone's problem in all of reality, is that people don't listen, or they assume they're smarter than they really are and that they can figure it out themselves without any help. But if people will listen to you on taxes, you can help them a little bit and help them save money while also making sure that the U.S. government doesn't get more than they claim they deserve. Yeah. But yeah, that's enough talk about taxes on a video game channel. So let's start with the big news now. The biggest news right now is kind of in a holding mode, where Activision Blizzard, the company that owns Hearthstone, is rumored basically to be firing hundreds if not thousands of people tomorrow, in wake of poor quarterly Q3 responses, I assume. The problem here is it could be that this rumor came out from like one person and is just such a big rumor in the first place. It could be getting repeated by everyone, because I certainly am seeing everyone say it. Or it could very well be true. Does this inherently mean that in the next year Hearthstone is dead and Overwatch is dead and everything's going to fall down in the pieces? No, not really. Is this going to be layoffs across Activision and Blizzard? The rumor says yes. Wednesday we'll have the real information. Frankly, if I was the CEO, I would probably not leak this information out, or even continue with the firings if this kind of information did leak out, just to spite the news media. Although, on the other hand, if you're trying to get people to quit, which people have been leaving the sinking ship of Activision Blizzard for quite a while now, this might be a great way to get people to quit, is just float the rumor that people are going to be laid off and have a bunch of people quit a week earlier. Although, generally speaking, if you're going to do that, you would give them more time than a week. You would say, we're going to be laying people off at the end of this quarter, at the end of the year, in 6 months. Give them enough time where people could actually find another job and quit on their own accord. And you really would only do that if you're just pulling shenanigans to try and avoid paying unemployment compensation. And I don't think that they probably care about that. inherently, it might not be a bad idea if Activision Blizzard did go bankrupt. It really just depends on who wins at that bankruptcy auction, who gets the rights to World of Warcraft and all the Blizzard stuff, who gets the rights to all the Activision stuff. If Microsoft, for example, owned all the rights to Destiny and everything Activision has made over the course of many years, there could be a large, I guess we'll play some Shaman, or Rogue is what we will play. There could be a large recession, well, not recession, there could be a large comeback for a lot of Activision games that have just been abandoned, and there's been no sequels, there's been no remakes. Microsoft would definitely have the money for that. If Valve bought Activision and they were going to do something with those games, that might be something. If Valve grabbed all that talent from Activision Blizzard and actually did something, that would be great. Almost certainly, you kind of assume that Second Dinner, the Ben Brode company that has been started, would be willing to snap up at least the best of the best of people who worked on Hearthstone. So Hearthstone might just shift into whatever Second Dinner is for a new card game that's, I believe, a Marvel Disney tie-in game. And I think we'd probably just jump over to that immediately if it's that obvious, if there's no real fighting. But yeah, there's Ubisoft could grab up Activision Blizzard and probably do better. It's mostly the management's fault that there are any problems whatsoever at Activision Blizzard right now anyways. So if the management all got fired, there's still, I believe, a good company in the employees. Like, very rarely is it even reasonable to say that a company went out of business because of the employees. It's almost certainly always the management decisions. That's the problem with being leaders. You have to take the blame when something doesn't go right. To my side. And then there's more to that story. Certainly, I'm just talking off the top of my head right now about it, but there's more to that story in the sense that let's see, this, and then this, and this, and then let's see, that with that.
Monsters behind you.
I didn't even do that right, did I?
Is mine.
No, that still might work. As long as I can keep this guy alive. Yeah, there's talk about the chief financial officer, I believe, was hired on just a few weeks ago and given a $15 million sign-on bonus. So that's like 150 employees if they're getting paid $100,000 a year salary. But often when you are a bad management that is just trying to run a company into the ground like the Toys R Us management was, that's exactly what you do, is you hire your friends and you give them ridiculous golden parachutes and ridiculous sign-on bonuses. I would never suggest investing in video game companies, but in particular now would probably be the worst time to invest into video game companies. Yeah, although right about now is probably the worst time to invest in anything. Let's go through these games. Yeah, I say it almost every time, but if I speed up here and get things done, then I could get back to playing Overlord 2. I think Overlord 2 is making some steps into being a slightly better game than Overlord 1, with its characterization of the people you're playing as, and kind of having more of a importance to the main character and the romantic interests, which I imagine we will find later on. Although because of their attempt at that, they also had me playing a intro part where the main character was a kid, to only then play a intro tutorial part while I'm playing as the character as an adult.
Justice
which
is mine.
just felt redundant, like you had two teams make tutorial sections and for no real reason. But yeah, there's really no reason to stretch this out too much. Let's see, dragon. Do I have any other dragons? Or am I wasting my time trying to play dragon too? Yeah, that's I only have like one dragon as a rogue. It must have been shaman that I was thinking about.
There once was a man from Gilneas.
Yeah, this is the only dragon I have.
Justice is mine.
So, first game we have on Steam is called Pix Tower. It looks like it's a mobile phone port that, like, the guy can't even record his own background without getting a full desktop image. That is pretty pathetic. 77 cents at discount. English and Russian game. Alright. As far as that. Wouldn't be surprised if these games aren't, like, very few of them are of any interest today. Let's see, draw a weapon from the deck.
You shiny.
Deal 1 damage, draw a card. Attack there.
May my ancestors watch over me.
In the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Mr. Maze. Now, this game, by the looks of it, shouldn't be on the fall list, but it is from Screen 7 and made by MJ Lovegrove, which I believe is the creator of the Cat Lady. So, holding him to a very different standard than anybody else, since the Cat Lady is a very simplistic game with no mouse support. It's just a, like, walking adventure game. I'm willing to give this one a little bit of a try. That being said, this does look rather crazy, and at best I can put this on the follow list, and only because I'm making a very special exemption. And it's tagged as a walking simulator, so I'm assuming what you're doing is you're walking through what is a giant maze of probably a bunch of asset flips to tell some kind of story here. Like, that is my hope and my thought here, that this isn't just a low effort cash grab. It's certainly not asking for too much money at $3.39, but yeah, even at that, there's a lot of mazes, so it's probably following a story in which many people have to get through many different types of mazes. But yeah, when you look at the Cat Lady, well, apparently that's not not a game he worked on. So maybe it's just that the publisher's the same, and I'm holding it in too high of esteem for that reason. But when you look at the cat lady here, well, age appropriateness aside, it is just a keyboard adventure game in flat animations that are very simplistic with a very simplistic engine. But boy am I making a specific exception for that. And as soon as people start telling me no, it's actually not worth playing, then I'll stop. I'll take it off the wish list, the follow list. Next we have on Steam a meme game that I assume is from PewDiePie, because I've seen it on PewDiePie, but that doesn't really mean much, because, you know, he could be just following the meme as much as anybody, and trying to figure out where a meme comes from is pretty impossible. I guess I'm gonna have to just make a dragon deck, because I don't think any of my pre-built decks have enough dragons to play. So we've got this game, Bouncing DVD the game, which is just a DVD screensaver bouncing and twisting and turning, and the meme is that to get it to hit one of the corners exactly perfectly. And yeah, this is a free-to-play game, so I guess the price is right, but boy is it a piece of junk. And see, the problem with buying a free-to-play game is that now in this basically troll game-like object thing that they've released free-to-play, it's getting positive reviews. Well, what happens now when this developer and publisher then releases a game for $60 or $20 or $5? And you look at that publisher and you go, well, the last game was free to play and everybody loved that. Not realizing that the reason why everybody rated it positively is they were just following a joke or a meme. I suppose this is the opposite argument that people make against review bombing. But in my opinion, I think these meme games should be review bombed. Or reviewed appropriately, quite frankly, into negative territory. But then I guess I personally don't really find any value in positive reviews anyways, so I'm only looking for games that potentially in negative territory so that I can eliminate them. If I want to play a game and it has a positive review, that really doesn't change anything because I already wanted to play the game. That'd really be the only time I'd be looking at a game's reviews. Like, I'm not going to go search for Duke Nukem Forever, a notoriously terrible game, on Steam to see if it has positive reviews to change my mind on whether or not I want to play that game. That would be ridiculous. Alright. Next we have a game on Steam. It's a bunch of Asian characters and then called Wand Wars Rise. This looks like a stand in one place for the most part and fire. Kind of almost like an attempt at a Skyrim clone. Maybe it's VR, maybe it isn't. It's $7.99. I bet it's a cheap Chinese game. It says simplified Chinese, so that kind of confirms my guess. Yeah, as I was looking at the page for Overlord 2, I was trying to see if there might be any more modern games. Overlord 2 came out in like 2006, or about then, so it's maybe 2009. It's like 10 years old, and I know they haven't done anything that is legitimately a continuation of that series. They made Overlord like Immortal or something like that. That was not in any way really like the previous games. So I'm looking for a clone of a Pikmin clone at this point. Yeah, one's Wars Rise. To continue on that thought, though, of course, it's not making it to the follow list. It's just not polished enough, nor does it look like it really even supports English in a realistic way. Yeah, I'm about to lose.
Job's done.
Tech Raptor has an article, updated Spellbreak switching to Epic Games Store exclusively.
Well played.
It says, update, the developer contacted us to clarify that Spellbreak primarily used Steam for pre-alpha testing from July to October of 2018, and since then has moved to mostly using their own standalone launcher. That's kind of BS. Because does that mean they have not updated their game on Steam since October of 2018? Or does that mean that they're just saying, well, we only focused with our standalone launcher, which nobody's ever heard of and nobody was really using? We just need to make some dragons here. Save ourselves some time.
If you make
Yes,
a
yes,
wild
we've
deck,
heard it
you
a
can only
billion
use it in
times.
wild games.
I've heard it a billion times before. We don't need that warning every time. Gosh. Seriously, the introduction of Standard and Wild was definitely the worst mistake Hearthstone has made so far. Particularly now that you're looking at the potential collapse of Activision Blizzard. Boy, does that not make sense. Although you can't really, I think, make an argument that it's Hearthstone's fault that they're collapsing, or any game's fault. They should be succeeding wildly. The only thing I guess maybe you could argue is that they failed to move fast enough with classic servers on World of Warcraft, and they failed to to really push forward and promote their products and make new IP.
The light shall bring victory.
Your soul shall be mine.
Like you could argue that the Diablo 3 marketplace wasn't just another example of the beginning of the end of Activision Blizzard. Even at that, the merger itself was the beginning of the end. Alright. To get back to the story from Tech Raptor, though. Additionally, they say the game never had a public page on Steam, nor did developers ever promise that the final release would be on Steam. Alright. At that point, I believe what they're saying a little bit more. If it never had a public page. You'd have to do some major mental gymnastics for that to not be the truth. Finally, the developer informed us that under 5% of their current users make use of the Steam version, and that they stopped sending out Steam keys in October as part of the transition to their own launcher at that time. Spellbreaker is a battle royale game in development based on spell combinations and magics. This is the rest of this article. So, the thing here in particular, though, I would say is not Spellbreaker, going to Epic as an exclusive game, not as not as big of a deal.
At last, a worthy foe.
I think as Metro Exodus. That being said, I'm looking here at this trailer, and it does look like it's kind of an interesting, magic, almost Fortnite fast dash fighting game. I guess it doesn't potentially a building like Fortnite, but they're doing like ice arrows and flame arrows with the motions in their hands, and that looks kind of cool. Yeah, that does not look too bad as a thing if I was going to play player versus player. Now I don't know how in the world that turns into a single player game with you jumping around. I don't know if that lets you play a game where you're dealing with really well designed levels or story events or anything like that. Mostly what I'm seeing is people just running around and jumping around basic generic plains areas with some castles and then some trees. There's actually at this point, looking at this trailer, just too much jumping. This has been nearly 2 minutes straight of the trailer having the character just jump over and over again in fast dash, and it's just too fast. Feels like it would induce motion sickness pretty quickly. Yeah, my statement still is pretty much the same as these smaller exclusivity deals with Epic are not going to cause anywhere as much trouble as Metro Exodus indie AAA games, because there clearly has been and probably has always been and probably will still be for a very long time two very distinct tiers of video game fans. There are the video game fans out there that want to play anything and everything and are really willing to play niche games, small indie games, and then there are video game fans that will only play the top tier AAA games that are usually first person shooter style games.
Our hammers echo in the deep.
So yeah. So you're gonna get double the amount of complaints for something like Metro Exodus than you would any small indie game, particularly if it's a small indie game that is of a new IP, of a new series, something nobody's been hyped about anyways. So that's but every news story that comes out where this game isn't exclusive or this game isn't exclusive is going to be another bit of straw that will break the camel's back as far as people considering using the Epic Store and then getting mad because they have to use the Epic Store, or people who don't want to use the Epic Store getting mad because they are going to have to use it if they want to play certain games. TechRaptor has another article, Steins Gate Elite Review - Back to the Anime. This is, by the way, what Steins Gate looks like. Here, let me show it in a second. Can we do anything here that will... So, this is like what the anime looks like, or what the visual novel looks like. You have this main guy, I think, that you play as, and you find out through, I believe, emails you can change the past, and I believe he in one ending of the visual novel erases this girl who he's in love with, I think, from history, and then there's like a second spin-off anime where he succeeds and ends with a good ending. So the thing here is Steins Gate Elite was played by TechRaptor on the PlayStation 4, and they gave it an 8.0 great. They say Steins Gate Elite is a fantastic version of 5PB's beloved visual novel. Not only do the animated sequences help bring its story to life while players read, but the phone trigger gameplay system has been intelligently streamlined as well. Pros, it's been smartly streamlined, it has great endings and memorable characters. Cons, scientific explanations can drag, and it's overly wordy in spots. Which is not surprising for a Japanese visual novel translated to English, really, because in Japanese, being wordy is not a problem. So, yeah. I'll have to double check to see if Steins Gate Elite is on Steam. I'm pretty sure at least one version of Steins Gate is, but Elite might be the better one to play if it is just a streamlined, smoother version compared to the original game. And it would definitely be a top tier visual novel if I'm going to cover any visual novels. It's like, I'd put it just below Clannad, or the Clannad series. And honestly, if I was going to cover visual novels, there's very possibly only 3 or 4 that I feel I would even need to cover to give the general idea, depending on not if I ever figured out a way to how to cover the adult ones. I might be able to cover quite a few more, but then I'd have to really ask, what am I showcasing there? The thing when I covered Honey Pop is, not only was that a decent dating game, but it was also a decent match 3 game. If it didn't have the good dating elements and it didn't have a good match 3 elements, then all I would have been showcasing is stuff I had to censor on Steam, on YouTube anyway, so that's not a lot, so that's not very good coverage or footage to make. Let's see. So, over here on the European account, let's roll this. 15 turns, draw 15 cards. That's easy enough to do. They're giving us some decent things. Let's play Zoo Warlock. Gematsu has an article, GameStop Germany lists Spyro Reignited Trilogy for the Switch. Spyro Reignited Trilogy would be a cool game for the Switch, you know? And that almost comes like full circle too, because that means what once was a Sega Dreamcast potential system seller for little kids has now come to the little kids platform of today, which is the Nintendo Switch. So yeah, that's kind of cool.
Why do you call?
GameIndustry.biz has an article, quote, "We had a bushfire back then, comma, but we're about to go through a flash fire now. The League of Geeks and fellow traveler on the collapse of the government funding in Australia and the difficulties its fledgling studio will face in the years ahead. I've never heard of a company called League of Geeks and Fellow Traveler, but apparently, according to this article, the Australian government is not going to give tax breaks or incentives to develop video games in Australia, which is not really surprising because Australia has kind of hated video games and not treated them well at all since the beginning, or at least in all memorable history. It still is difficult to get some games approved for sale whatsoever in Australia, whereas those same games without any censorship are passing through Germany, which would be a slightly more difficult place for you to for games to get approved, or well, there's I suppose, in all fairness, a list of about 30 countries in which you just wouldn't get your game approved if it's violent or mature in any way, or you just wouldn't get your game approved at all. But of the first world countries, Australia is one of the worst. This article mentions the Australian Interactive Games Fund, which was introduced in 2013. Let's see. Which I assume this fund is either drying up or
Wow.
Let's see if there's... Well, this story is probably a little too inside baseball, so I'll just leave it if you want to go to gameindustry.biz and read it. The problem I see with this story is it really only affects people developing video games in Australia, and that the number of companies that I know of that make video games in Australia are now exactly one, the League of Geeks and Fellow Travelers. I've not heard of any other Australian video game developers. There's probably some decent reasons why it might be good to develop a game in Australia, but I'm not 100% sure even on that one.
Mushroom power! Mushroom punch! Job done.
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Game Soup, which looks like it's a WarioWare clone. We're seeing some variety in quality here, but that 46 mini games may be enough, may not be enough. This is one I'll give a chance to. There's a lot of references to other games here, certainly in a WarioWare style, but
I wonder.
yeah, it doesn't look too bad. $2.69 discounted. It's not, I'm not asking too much. I'll put that on the follow list and we'll see if people actually decide they want to play that. There's
Why do you want? Job done.
the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Wings of Glass with a bunch of Asian characters at the end. This looks interesting, certainly. Like, this could be an asset flip game turned into a 3D platformer, or this could be like a single run sequence that is barely just a few minutes long. Or this could be a fully fledged game. Let's see. So it's $4.79 discounted. It's English and Japanese. No. Let's see. It says it's an episodic adventure. It says it's an indie game passion project made by one woman. Okay. This might be cool. Might not. Like, this is really going to come down to how long this game is, and does it finish itself in its episodes. Like, I kind of have to wait till the entirety of the series is out before I'm willing to even try it.
As you command.
In return. Yeah. So we're seeing more potential good games today than we usually do. So I don't know what that really means, other than we haven't run into a bad section, a bad run of bad games. Right. Play that. Do that. And do that. Next we have a game on Steam called Ladybug Quest. This looks like this might be a slightly interesting kid-friendly game. It's kind of like Frogger in a 3D dimension as a platformer game. Yeah. If you had asked me yesterday, how do you bring a game like Frogger into a modern timeline and make it a modern style game, I would say there's no way. That's just not going to work. But I'll be darned if Ladybug Quest is not selling me on that concept. 10% off for $17.99 is pretty high for the price, but yeah, it definitely needs to go on the fall list. I don't know these developers or this publisher, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse to not try something. Let's do this and do this and do that and do that.
Job's done.
And return. I think we may have already reported on this, but GameIndustry.biz has an article. Sumo Digital opens a new mobile studio in Leamington Spa. The Crackdown 3 developer hires Sega Hardlight founder Chris Southall tells us this was a catalyst for opening a 7 studio. It'll be based in the UK. I guess that's where Leamington Spa is. UK is kind of known for their weirdly named cities. Let's see. So this is Sega Hardlight was the team behind the free-to-play titles such as Sonic Dash, Sonic Jump, and Crazy Taxi City Rush. So these were all free-to-play cell phone games. So I imagine that they won't be doing anything different. I'm not sure if Sumo Digital does anything besides mobile games at all. Now, in all fairness, I really don't play too many mobile games, so I did not know that any of those games existed. Whereas I kind of did know Mario Run exists and the Pokemon Go exists, but yeah, that's kind of it. I know like Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, Candy Crush, but every time I look for new mobile games, they're usually completely uninteresting pieces of garbage. So this one says deal 2 damage after you play a card. Refresh this. So unless I could do something here, which I can't, I'm gonna lose. My cell phone, unfortunately, has been breaking, so like I had to order a new Galaxy S9, which I'll upgrade to when it arrives, but it's not something I really wanted to do. I've hit a point where I had the S7, and if it weren't for the fact that it broke and the fact that it was just maybe a little slow, but not really. Mostly it's the fact that it broke and the fact that the battery has been worn out, because I actually use my cell phone quite a lot. I would have just stuck with the S7, and I'll just stick with the S9, and 2, 3, 4 years from now, I'll just move to whatever is a reasonably priced next version in the S series, unless at some point I decide to jump over to the Google Pixel. There's really not too many new features that could be added to a cell phone that would interest me. Kind of in the same way, there's not really anything interesting new you can do for a PC that would interest me. Oculus Rift has not enough adoption, or VR doesn't have enough adoption. I do want a new video card just because I want the games that aren't running well to run well, but otherwise I'm not really going towards 2K or 4K anytime soon. Maybe never. I really haven't even looked at a 2K or 4K screen, so I don't know if I'd even notice a difference. The other thing would be like high definition HDR colors, if that was a thing that was adopted on games, but it probably won't be. You know, surround sound would be interesting, but I don't. I need my recording software to actually record surround sound, and YouTube to somewhat support it better. And I think it might support some of that. The other thing, technology-wise, I learned is for many years, Dish has allowed you to plug in an external hard drive into your DVRs, but then you had to call them and activate it and pay a one-time activation fee of like $30. So it was just like this huge ripoff. It's like to let a DVR format and encrypt your external hard drive so you can have a little bit more space to record TV or movies that could only be played back on a DVR. And I'm not even sure, even now, if I plug it into, I have two hoppers, I'm gonna get rid of them both and replace them with a newer version, replace two with one, and so that was why I was looking at it. But at some point they stopped charging that extra fee, so now it seems like you can just plug in a external hard drive and maybe move some videos over to that, and maybe, just maybe, move it from one device to the other device. I'm not sure if it really works that way, or if it just says no, you can't, you can only use it on the same device. Unfortunately, the only USB to external hard drive adapter I have is not compatible with it, so I'm not sure it's worth the effort to buy another external hard drive or another hard drive adapter and see if that one works.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
Well, I can tell you a USB thumb drive probably won't work. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of non-video game stuff, bits and pieces here and there, taking breaks, trying to let my voice rest a little bit. Like, I always have in the back of my head a fear that I'm just gonna burn out my voice completely, like so many radio personalities do. So I'm trying to be as cautious about that as possible. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article, Ghoul Boy for the... Yeah, it's Ghoul Boy. We'll just do a web peek here. Ghoul Boy is apparently coming out for lots of things, at least the PS4 and Vita. It's getting a limited physical run edition. It's a retro-inspired action platformer. I've never heard of it before. Let's see. I'll watch the trailer. I imagine Ghoul Boy is a kind of clone of Ghosts and Goblins, Ghouls and Goblins. one or the other.
Job's done.
I would say it's probably a little bit more like Rogue Legacy with platforming, jumping, and slinging weapons than I would say it's like Ghouls and Goblins or Ghosts and Goblins. Although they're very similar. Unfortunately, I don't really like the level of quality of the graphics of Ghoul Boy as I'm looking at it. Like, if we just look here for a second, you've got a lot of dark backgrounds, and the camera's really zoomed out, and there's a lot of hard things to see. A little difficult in the level of jumping and platforming, too. So, yeah, that's not something that I feel like I would keep an eye out for. We're done with the European account, so let's just move over to the Asian account. And so far I've pushed my luck as much as I'm getting a little bit more confident as far as showing bits of trailers without getting content ID copyright claims. YouTube made some feigned like they're going to actually try and
Busy night, but there's always room for
try and reduce the number of false copyright claims, but in their weird way in which they still don't believe that there are false copyright claims at all. It's just that they continue to push the idea that people just don't understand the copyright law. It's like, no, people kind of do understand the copyright law, and they're just interpreting it a different way than you want to interpret it. Next we have a game on Steam called Faded Era, which looks like probably not an RPG Maker game, but it looks like an old school NES RPG, certainly. That does not interest me. It's discounted to $8.09. Apparently they have a second game they're bundling. Yeah, nothing there interests me. And in this turn, I guess I just need to play. That's all I need to do. Just play the game and we'll get all the daily quests done. I heard talk that some of the Tavern Brawls that are coming up are going to be special, and you're going to get like a card pack for just playing. You don't even have to win, which that would be nice. I'd kind of wish all the Tavern Brawls were like that. Next we have a game on Steam called Adapt or Perish, which looks like a top-down real-time strategy game, but graphically it looks boring and unpolished, and yeah, I just don't see anything here that would make me want to play that. $8.99 discounted.
I wonder.
In the
Play
light's
that,
name.
although maybe I should have played that first. Let's see. Okay, play that. Do that. Next we have a game on Steam called Train Manager. Looks like it's clearly just a train simulator clone trying to get sales off of that game. It's $4.99, no discount. I didn't even like Train Simulator, so the idea of playing another game is pretty silly.
Why do you mourn?
Yeah, I don't think I'd play another train game anytime soon, if ever.
There once was a man from Gilneas.
Okay. So we attack here. Do that. And then we do this. And then we do this. And then we do this.
Amazing.
Minion already attacked.
We end the turn. Tech Raptor has an article. Blacklight Retribution is shutting down on PC this March. Store items have been made free. So FPS fanatics, it says, will be sad to hear that Blacklight Retribution is shutting down on PC this March. The free-to-play first-person shooter had a solid run of 7 years, but the developer Hardsuit Labs has come to the decision to end support for their game as they move on to focusing on their next project. I don't see a reason why you shut down your old game if you're making a new game until like a month after you release the next game. That would be about the time I would say. It's like release the new game and say now we're shutting down the old game a month later. That way you have no negative press around your company name that was a waste. I could have just waited in the end of the turn. You have no negative press around your name, your company for a long time. You have a happy player base that's still playing your old game. You could potentially patch into the old game advertisements to the new game. You could give out discounts to the new game for people who are playing the old game. To leave the player base hanging while you potentially make a new game, which, let's face it, there's a decent chance they're not making a new game and they're just shuttering the company. It's just a bad move. Now, if you are actually shutting down the company, then sure, I suppose it is a good move to shut down the servers on Blacklight Retribution. Of course, that then immediately opens it up to, well, somebody's going to hack it and make this game run off of some other server somewhere. If people really care about Blacklight Retribution, I don't know. Martin's on the chat. He asks, "What do you think of? Is Hearthstone pay to win?"
Welcome to my
There's definitely a significant amount of pay to win in Hearthstone. Undoubtedly, like as somebody, from my perspective, as somebody who's barely paid any money into Hearthstone and who never wins, there's definitely a lot of that. Is it 100% you cannot win if you're playing free to play? No. You can put in the time and make it up the ranks if you want to play Hearthstone all day, every day, non-stop. But it certainly is easier that first day that a new expansion comes out if you've got $300 worth of card packs and you have a complete collection of the new expansion as soon as possible. When you're trying to play those top tier meta decks, you need certain legendaries, you need certain epics, and you're just not going to get those playing free to play. So yeah, it definitely is in a bit pay to win, as any game with microtransactions in it is designed to be pay to win. Unfortunately, there wouldn't really be much of a difference for any other card game out there, unless it's a free card game or something closer to what Artifact tried to do, where you get all the cards to start off with, and then it just becomes a deck building game. If it is a collectible card game, you are getting money from those loot boxes in the form of card packs, and it will be pay to win. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Google has no plans to lower its 30% cut. The CEO maintains the figure is the industry standard. Seems to be the Google standard, at least, despite Epic Games' efforts to bypass it. So this is kind of a response to the fact that Epic brought out Fortnite without using the Google Play Store to play Fortnite, so you have to side load Fortnite. And see, certainly the Epic Game Store could be a threat in the long run to Google Play Store, because if the Epic Store, which right now is PC only, decided to also have a version for mobile games, and then there was an Epic Store app service on Google cell phones, that could be a problem. Although that would probably be a good thing too for the video game industry and the mobile gaming industry, because right now the Google Play Store is just flooded with garbage games. So if you had somebody who was doing more of a curated experience to say, these are only the good games, that would probably be helpful. I think the Amazon App Store on Google phones is kind of a little bit more curated too, but it's still full of a lot of bad games. And we just need to keep on playing. That's all we are at right now. TechRaptor has an article. Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered coming March 2019 to PC and consoles. The question, of course, I'm still trying to wait on and find out is, am I potentially going to get that remaster for free because I already own it on Steam, the original version? Or is this just going to be a ripoff where they're going to want me to pay again? Let's see. Assassin's Creed 3 came out in 2012. Assassin's Creed 3 in particular was a slightly lesser well-received Assassin's Creed games. After the trilogy of Assassin's Creed 2 and Ezio had been played out, people had had their fill for Assassin's Creed games, and bringing in Connor, the Native American assassin, really, he wasn't a very interesting character. Yeah, they're saying that it will release on PlayStation for $39.99. Yeah, but there's no talk here that you're gonna get a free upgrade.
In the light's name.
And that kind of sucks. It's believable and reasonable, though.
Someone call for the doctor.
That I wouldn't get an upgrade. And you know, that might just put the brakes on me covering Assassin's Creed games for a while too, as I may just wait till the summer sale or the winter sale before I would be willing to buy the upgraded version, or maybe I just don't buy the upgraded version at all.
I wonder.
And just cover the old versions.
Almost out of time.
Let's see, can we do something in here?
That
There we go.
a turn to get ready.
Next we have on Steam a game called Horse, which says it's a psychological horror game. But I think this is, it says it has nudity in it. I didn't check for that. It's free to play. I think this is pretty much a troll game. Yeah. I don't see anything in here that would justify playing it or covering it at all.
So many possibilities.
So let's do that. Let's do that. And let's just end the turn there. And as soon as I get all the daily quests done today, that's just going to be it for the stream. I may even have some games left over for Wednesday to talk about, which that'd be fine. TechRaptor has an article. Ni no Kuni anime film has been confirmed, and it's not going to be a Ghibli movie. Let's see. It won't. Studio Ghibli won't be involved. That's not super surprising. We're gonna play this.
It's playtime.
Then do this and this. The film is being produced by Level 5 and Warner Brothers Japan, and will be animated by OLM Incorporated, the studio famous for the production of the Pokemon anime series and series of movies. Well, like, the animation for Pokemon is not inherently the best animation ever, but I don't think you'd immediately reject it either. Says the story will take place in the same world, but will follow a new group of characters as they cross over between the real world and the magical land of Ni no Kuni. Is the land called Ni no Kuni because Ni no Kuni means I am the king, I think, in Japanese, or I'm the emperor, or I'm the king equivalent.
Mushroom power again.
Alright. This with this with this. In return. So yeah, a Ni no Kuni animated movie. Not a bad idea. GameIndustry.biz has the story. We'll probably have a lot of instances of this. Activision Blizzard reportedly bracing for layoffs. Slowing sales and the loss of Destiny could lead to hundreds of jobs being cut in the next 48 hours. This is Bloomberg and Kotaku are the original people who are citing sources close to the matter. So, yeah, take that for whatever that means. We'll know on Wednesday if people got laid off on Tuesday.
It's playtime.
Job's done.
There we go. Gamatsu has a article, Love R Rinzai Himanji prologue trailer. Let's just do a web peek for that name. Rinzai Himinogi prologue trailer. The gymnastic club's angel who fought to smile. This looks like this is a probably low polish visual novel, if I were to guess. Yeah, it's due out for the PS4 on March 14th in Japan. It says it's from Kodakawa Games according to a tag. It's a love simulation game is what they call it, not a visual novel. Interesting. So that might mean that it really breaks down to being just a collection of events in which the characters may on rare occasions say something to you, but mostly you're just kind of staring at them, which is what this trailer looks like too, as I'm watching that character just blow bubbles and talk to you.
Belongs to the Titans.
Yeah. So it may be even below the standards of what they call a visual novel in general. Interesting. GameIndustry.biz has an article. The UK charts. Red Dead Redemption 2 is back at #1. Kingdom Hearts 3 drops to #3 in its second week on sale. I don't think there's any more information really that needs to be said about that. Just drawing cards. Gamma Sutra has an article. Federal court orders Grand Theft Auto 5 cheat creator to pay $150,000. I believe that was already announced though a long time ago. Does not really mean anything though, because the person that made the cheat almost certainly does not have $150,000. But that's not really the reason why they would have pursued lawsuits like that. It's really just to punish people and take as much money as they can. It's very much about making sure that cheat creator never has any money again in their life, not that Rockstar actually gets any profit from it. Let's see. Are we done? Yeah, we are done. We could look at this game, Alien Afterlife, which is a weird looking asset flip trippy game. I'm almost willing to give this one a chance and put it on the follow list just for as crazy as it is. Or crazy as it looks. Like, see, the problem with weird games like this is, are they weird because they're artistic, or are they weird because they think that will sell? There's so many weirdo YouTube videos out there that get views just because they're weird like that, and I think this is more of a troll weird game trying to trick people into sales more than trying to do something artistic. I think if you're going to do something artistic, you need to do it, set it in a understandable world to start with, and then get weird later on. Something like Doki Doki Literature Club is a great example of that. It looks like a standard romance dating visual novel at the beginning, and then it gets weird as the game goes on. Speaking of weird looking games, this one says it's a psychological horror game, but the animation looks terrible. It looks like it's a visual novel that barely is even that much, and there's a lot of flashing in this game that I think might actually cause seizures. It's $2.99 discounted. Mana for Our Malices is what it's called. Let's see. Don't need to talk about that. Let me just go through the news stories. Gamma Sutra has the same story. Report Activision Blizzard to make significant layoffs this week. Tech Raptor has an article. You can now level up in Microsoft Solitaire for some reason. The Microsoft Solitaire collection, the modern version of Windows Solitaire, is getting an update that soon adds experience points and leveling to the game. The update was announced in a video uploaded to the Microsoft Casual Studios YouTube channel with a release date of coming soon. I could see a reason why you would want that though. Tech Raptor really can't, but if you're somebody who's playing Solitaire all the time, you're at work and you're playing 100 games a day because you've got no real work to do at your job, being able to level up and show off to your friends and compete with your friends makes sense. It's kind of where the achievements also came from as an idea. Gamma Sutra has an article. Sumo Digital opens a mobile studio in Leamington Spa. We'd already talked about that. GameIndustry.biz has an article. The EEDAR Nintendo Switch is attracting more women and wider age ranges over time. System is on track to follow certain demographic trends of Nintendo predecessors rather than those of console competitors. Okay, like, yeah, that makes sense. I could get why more older people and younger people would want to play a Switch compared to an Xbox One or a PS4. And why more women might want to play the Nintendo games versus other games available. Gematsu has the same article. Ni no Kuni anime film announced. Do they really have anything? They have a few like pencil drawing ideas that show off, but that's not really anything worth showing. And TechRaptor has the same article. Creator of GTA 5 must pay $150,000 in damages. And TechRaptor has the same article. Activision Blizzard layoffs expected to hit on Tuesday. So I had a lot of stories that are just repeated. Here's one we haven't talked about yet. Activision is issuing refunds for Guitar Hero Live in the US. Those who purchased the game from December 1st, 2017 can submit a claim for a full refund. The reason for this is because they are shutting down the online service for Guitar Hero Live, which is basically all of what that game is. Of course, you'll have to fill out the form, and that money may never show up. If it's anything like me filling out rebates, I've hundreds of rebates that have never been actually returned. Checks have never been sent. Gamma Sutra has the same article. Federal courts orders GTA 5 cheat creator to pay $150,000. Let's close that. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Nintendo plans to boost Switch Online after surge in short subscription plans. Proportion of single-month subs is rising. Nintendo president expresses critical need to increase the value of the service. That is 100% true, certainly, that the Nintendo Switch Online service is not worth the low price that they are asking for it. But there is also some subscription fatigue that will be a problem. Alright, we have the Hearthstone update here. Let's see. We can show this off. Celebrate the Lunar New Year from February 5th to February 13th. So that means these special daily quests will probably stop happening on the 13th. And then that puts me on the Humble Store. And let's see if there's any new bundles worth mentioning. No, doesn't look like they have any new bundles. And then that can put me on Twitter, and we can just see if there's anything new here. No, I don't think there's going to be any new news. So this is going to be a short stream, barely just an hour and a half, which is not a big, yeah, just an hour and a half stream, which is fine. It gives me more time to play other games and make footage, and we'll have some games left over to look at and talk about on Wednesday. Whereas I suspect Wednesday very well will be a bit more of a challenging day to stream, because we'll have to do the tavern brawls and all of that. Well, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.